This is insane and not at all what I was expecting. In fact, earlier today, during my earlier live stream, I said I would be completely shocked if the Cleveland Cavaliers blew up their core four of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. Reports are starting to trend in that direction, seemingly. And a big one here earlier as well, I said that I could feel something kind of lurking, something that I could sense, but I had no idea what it was. I had an eerie feeling about this trade deadline. Oh my goodness. This is coming out of nowhere. The LA Clippers have been playing elite basketball within the last 2 months. They've been playing some of their best basketball in the James Harden era. And now Harden, who has been missing games the last couple of nights due to personal reasons, could potentially be on the way out the door. This is absolutely shocking. And Harden potentially could be traded for Darius Garland. We'll look at that deal. What could that look like? And yes, Mosen, we are back at it again, putting in work at the trade deadline. Yes, you guys know, always working hard here, making sure that we've got everything set up. I am going to put the chat here into subscriber only mode. So all you have to do is hit subscribe. You just have to be subscribed for a minimum of 1 minute, which is super easy to do, completely free to you. But Mosen, yes, we are back at it, putting in the work. DC here says trade season has officially gotten silly. Let's go. With all of the discussion we had earlier today, this is not one that came up. James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers potentially. This is absolutely crazy. Damos here says, hey, Sheldon, can the Warriors pivot to Kawhi? Just two till I need to go to work with almost no sleep. That is what the trade deadline will do to you. I don't expect Kawhi Leonard to become available, but you never know. And I am back. Trevor Newman says, Sheldon, what is happening, my guy? Crazy day that we're experiencing here. And like a lot of you are saying, I was not expecting this. So again, the news here originally from Shams Charania, the LA Clippers, an 11-time All-Star James Harden are working through whether the sides can find a deal by Thursday's NBA trade deadline. Sources tell ESPN both sides are aligned in conversations together and with interested teams. So there is an S here. It's not just the Cleveland Cavaliers from the sounds of it. And obviously a lot to discuss, but this is a huge shakeup. And like I said earlier today on the stream, I talked about something huge looming that I didn't expect. I believe I described it as I can sense something lurking, but don't know what it is. Well, this would classify, according to Kelly Iko, the Clippers have engaged in trade talks surrounding veteran guard James Harden, with the Cavaliers at the forefront of teams that have expressed interest in acquiring the 11-time All-Star. Could be a huge shakeup here. Lucas says, imagine if Pat Riley somehow manages to form a Harden, Giannis, Bam trio. That would be crazy. Bryce says, I'm shocked. Chris says, does this make Lonzo to the Hornets more possible since Cavs have way too many guards? There are a lot of possibilities. Let's go over to Bobby Marks here now. He just sent out a tweet regarding James Harden. I believe it's just the timeline here. But yes, he has been traded a multitude of times, especially his short tenure in Brooklyn and Philadelphia, caused a lot of discourse. If you look at how those two franchises have been after Harden, Brooklyn's been rebuilding since, and Philadelphia opted for Paul George over James Harden. So if you want to blame the franchises, go ahead. But the Clippers are now in a spot where it does sound like they are mutually working together on a deal based on what Shams Charania is reporting here, and I do trust Shams' word over all else. No, I do not play League of Legends, but yes, this is a crazy time. Could I see a third or fourth team involved? We'll look at the salary structures here. Again, this is not something I was prepared for. I'm prepared for almost anything else that we could possibly see. I feel like this was that big thing that I felt was looming that I had no idea what it would be. I am utterly shocked right now. Comments are now up on the stream as well. I forgot to set that up for us. But there we go. Pat Riley is beyond watch, says Theater Angel. Slick Sophistication says, why can't Cleveland get John Morant for Garland or Max Strus? I don't know if Garland or, John Morant's necessarily the fit for their front court, especially moving forward. Trevor says, I predicted Houston before the Van Vliet injury. I'd be hyped if it happens. All for the Cavs trade, too. I want the drama, man. Utah Jazz fans should definitely be interested in this possible outcome. Mason here, it's not just Chris Mannix. I know Chris Mannix is not – I didn't believe it when Chris Mannix tweeted it. However, I do believe Kelly Iko, who tweeted it. He covers the Houston Rockets and the league at large as well for The Athletic. I do think he is a pretty solid source. Actually, he used to be for The Athletic. He's for Yahoo now. I forgot. And then you look at Shams Charania also tweeting it, I think is a pretty good indicator that this is real. So I would not worry. Did Harden ask out? It seems like the two are working together. And the sensibility behind this is obviously the idea that Giannis, can tell I've got Giannis on the mind still from earlier. The idea here would be probably that Harden could work with Cleveland to try and maximize their championship window in the short term. And then the idea for the Clippers would be kind of reconfiguring their roster while getting significantly younger. Garland is a decade younger than James Harden. And the salaries are essentially 1-for-1. So the money would genuinely work here between these two. I do think that's important to note. I'm going to go over and tweet this really quick. Let's go back over to Twitter here. I will update this housekeeping note. Let's get over to this salary. James Harden. James Harden makes $39.182 million this season. Darius Garland makes, let's go over to Garland. I believe it's just about $200,000 more. $39.446 million this season. Cavaliers can do a straight swap of these two, even in the aprons. Clippers would get a decade younger at the point guard spot. Cavs could still salary dump one of Strus/Schroder to dip second apron. So a lot of housekeeping stuff there, but I do think it's very important to note, just given the circumstances and the pace with this breaking news. 300 plus people watching live. Welcome everyone here to Utility Sports. Really hope you guys do enjoy the content. Aaron says this guy's the most exhausting player in the NBA. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, go ahead. I would disagree with that. I think if you look at the situations after he left, Philly, Brooklyn, Houston wanted to rebuild. I mean, he's just left teams that have turned to rebuilding and flexibility over winning. So that's what I think about that. Josh Hive says, what team would be in play for James? Because he seems to always be unhappy on every team he plays for. I mean, he did spend a decade. In Houston. So I don't know. I wouldn't say he's always unhappy. I just think he expects to win. And, given the circumstances, like if you look at what happened in Brooklyn, what happened in Philly, it's hard for me to blame him, to be honest. But this coming out during the Clippers-Sixers game is funny. Yeah, it's literally what I had to turn off to come stream. So and right before that, I was finishing up the Kansas game. Darren Peterson, man, that guy is special. Bryce says Harden can veto any trade, so it has to be mutual by all parties. Theater says LA Clippers are trying to not be left with a bunch of retiring players. Definitely could get a lot younger in this kind of deal. And the Cavaliers, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Ed Vick says this is not happening, bro. I mean, it's literally Sham Charania, dude, talking about a possible trade. So it doesn't sound like anything super imminent, but this is definitely worthy of a discussion right now because it is breaking news on a possible trade, one that would change the league pretty drastically this season. James Harden is having another very good year. He's been one of the biggest bright spots for the Clippers since arriving in LA. This season, he's averaging 25.5 points. Field goal percentage stuff is still a little down. It's been a little bit of a down number for him the last few years, to be honest, just given some of his numbers after the hamstring injury, but averaging 8 assists again. He's been a positive plus minus even when the Clippers were losing early in the year. So he's just really, really talented player. Dylan says, I bet Kawhi won't be happy about this. I'm not exactly certain on what that is. I do think Kawhi and Harden have actually a very good off-the-court relationship, but we'll see how everything shakes out there. Tyler, welcome to the stream. He says, Sheldon, what a shocker. It is a big, big shocker. I want to go back over. I hope maybe someone can go clip it from earlier today. I mean, I was live for 5.5 hours, but earlier today I talked about how I felt something was lurking and I didn't know what it was. And I literally someone asked me what would be one thing I would not expect to happen. And I said the Cavaliers breaking up their big four. It kind of seems like we might be pointed that direction. So, oh my goodness. Robert Lamison says, which team gives James an opportunity to win a championship? The Cavaliers are definitely interesting because if he can give you meaningful minutes in the playoffs, which, Darius Garland hasn't been consistently able to do because of health stuff. The Cavaliers in a weakened Eastern Conference would definitely be fascinating. I think Boston would be a spot that would give him an opportunity to win a championship. Let's jump over to Fanspo here really quick and talk about some of the potential options. Again, it's going to be hard to really see what a package is going to look like, especially since I, again, am not prepped for this like I am for most of the other discussions we have. But if it's not Cleveland, I would be surprised if it was Detroit. I don't think it would be New York. Could it be a team like Boston? Perhaps. Now, the salaries is where you're going to run into some issues. You would start probably around Anthony Simons, who is another player who's a decade younger than Harden. Could the Boston Celtics have some interest here? You'd probably have to include Sam Hauser's salary. There are some difficulties here in all of this, but financially this does not work because of the Celtics trade rules. As a first apron team, they can't take in more salary than they send out. So then you're looking at attaching, $1.4 million more. You throw in, even Xavier Tillman, and then you take back like Chris Paul, and then even then you're still going to be under where you can be. So it's like pretty difficult, but you could do something like this technically. Now, what kind of draft capital would go back? I don't even know. But it's absolutely crazy. This is very, very crazy. Yes, Harden has been out. Harden has been out due to personal reasons. Did not play tonight and did not play a few nights ago either. So Abeem says, I thought he liked being in LA. I do think he does, but I also think he likes winning. If you look at the times when Harden's asked out, it's often been in struggling seasons where the team's not performing up to par with his standards. You look at Brooklyn, the year that Kyrie wasn't able to play home games. Kevin Durant missed about 40% of the season. He wasn't happy in Brooklyn when the team wasn't winning. Then in Philadelphia, after Morey didn't extend him, broke what was seemingly a promise between them, and Embiid came up massively short in their playoff series against Boston that year, he asked out. He asked out of Houston when a rebuild was coming. He doesn't want to lose. That's just seemingly the reality. And the Clippers, even though they've been winning a lot as of late, they're still not a firm playoff team. And that might be partially why. But Harden wins everywhere he goes. He has yet to miss the playoffs in his entire NBA career. And that might be something he, again, is trying to avoid, is missing the playoffs. So we'll see. Damo says, do you think the Garland injury is worse than we thought, or is this about maximizing the chance to win? I think it's a little bit of both. It might be kind of a bet on the fact that he's missed so many games and they're worried. about it long term. Let's adjust this trade too. So if it's not Boston, who else could it be? It could theoretically be Toronto, right? They could do something around quickly for Harden, and then you could do, even Ochai Agbaji. And in this, like, the Clippers get maybe a first and a couple of seconds or something to refill the cupboard, so to speak, a little bit with future draft capital. This will have not worked because of hard cap reasons for the Clippers here. Remove $1 million. So that's very simple to solve. We just go over to the Clippers roster and throw in Chris Paul's contract. Bada bing and bada boom. There you go. Done deal. So Toronto will get a lot better here. This would really move the Raptors forward, although I don't think it's necessarily a fit in Darko Rajakovic's offense. Could a reunion with the 76ers work? No, I'm going to just rule that out right now. I'm going to say that does not happen. Orlando would be a no. Miami is like an interesting possibility here. Something around like Rozier, his salary, and then you work in, we have to get another $12-ish million. You could do like Fontecchio and Khalil Ware, maybe. This like straight up for Harden. That's not terrible. Miami gets an elite point guard who's out on the market right now in James Harden. Chicago, I don't think would do it. Atlanta probably wouldn't do it. I mean, how funny would it be if Milwaukee does it and Harden and Giannis are teammates? Now, I don't really think this would be super likely, but there have been questions about, okay, could Milwaukee be like a secret buyer here at the deadline and do something that no one's really expecting? Like, I guess. I don't know. This would make Milwaukee a heck of a lot better. I just don't think the Clippers would do that, though. You're looking at OKC wouldn't. Denver, I don't think would. The Spurs probably would not, if I had to bet. Houston's been a team that I would love to see Harden reunite with. Obviously, he and Kevin Durant still have a very good relationship. The issue is you would need Fred VanVleet to sign off on a deal, but you could realistically get the money to work here. Tari Eason would be kind of the guy in this deal, and now for the Clippers, we'd have to shed some salary in this return package, so it could be someone like Chris Dunn, but if it's not Chris Dunn, maybe you do some combination of Chris Paul plus like Kobe Brown, who has been just a nightmare. Something like this financially does work. The Clippers get Tari Eason. Maybe there's some form of small draft capital or something one way or another in this, but the Rockets are a team that could make some sense either. Cavs don't win with Harden, by the way, either. I mean, probably not, but like Harden is better than Darius Garland as an individual player right now. So Theo Gaming says, I would love to see Garland in LA. I can definitely understand it. He's so much younger than Harden that it would kind of help reset the Clippers' future a little bit and shift their timeline to a little bit more down the road, which could be a positive for them. AA Blazer says Harden on the Cavs would be perfect. Garland has been holding that team back for years. Definitely would be a huge shakeup for sure. Robert Lamison says, thank you, my guy. Sheldon should be working in an office for an NBA team. Down the road, Robert. Appreciate you. He also says, hit that like button. You guys heard him. Everyone smash that like button right now. Welcome to the stream, guys. We're at 45 likes already. Over 400 people watching live. What a shakeup today. Not what I was anticipating. I was actually getting ready to go to bed to be ready to stream tomorrow morning, bright and early, which I will be live all week long here. So this is the place to be. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Leading Lion says, let's get him on the Pistons. 2 first, Karis LeVert and Marcus Sasser. Let's look at a Pistons trade. So I don't think anyone else in the West first that makes any sense. Minnesota. Minnesota's not crazy. He would be a very good guard fit. The issue is financially, how do you get there? You could do something around like Naz Reid and Conley and Dillingham. That salary slot gets you in the ballpark. The issue here is it's going to be very difficult financially for these two teams to work out a trade. So Minnesota would have to send out other salary in this. Leonard Miller could be a theoretical guy, but then the Clippers run into the first apron issue. So they'd have to be able to work out salaries here one way or another. But there would be like some possibilities for sure of this, but It would be kind of convoluted and probably would require a third team at the very least. Dallas would be a no. Memphis, I mean, something around Ja for Harden. This is basically the exact same situation as the Darius Garland package. Ja makes the exact same amount of money this year as Garland. This would make Memphis definitely better, but I don't know if it really fits their overall team philosophy either, with Yasalo as the coach. The Jazz, don't think they would do it. The Pelicans, I mean, no. Zion to the Clippers, I mean, I just don't think that's super sensible. The Kings, you never want to rule them out in anything. Let's talk about Detroit here. How could they do it? They could do something around Tobias and Ivy. There's your salary slots for it. Harden to the Pistons. Detroit has room against the tax yet, so they could, from here throw in picks. Maybe they do something like, this even swap here just because they'll probably be better than the Clippers anyway. So it wouldn't be the end of the world, but something like that. I don't know. Gives the Clippers a young guard in Ivy, first-round capital, and Tobias goes back to LA where he played some of the best basketball of his career early on. Surely Houston should be all over this. The issue with Houston, again, is the fact that Van Vliet can basically reject a trade this year. He can veto trades. So Harden would have to want Houston, and then Van Vliet would also have to be okay with going to LA, which there's worse place you can go. Isabel here is she's remembering that what I said earlier about the that eerie feeling of a trade out of the blue. It's literally what I said. Someone should go clip that. I might even try and find it from earlier after the stream tonight. But I had this weird feeling. I just had this weird feeling leading up to this week, and I'm really glad I said that today because usually I'm not wishy-washy like that, but I was feeling something really weird. I had no idea what it was going to be. I definitely did not expect this at all. Only says Sabonis and Monk, 2 Raptors for RJ Barrett and Pirtle. We will definitely talk a lot about Toronto tomorrow in the trade streams that we have the rest of the week. There'll be a key team to talk about. Hilia says, bring the beard home. We will watch for where Harden could possibly go. Sources say convos have paused due to the Spurs offering. I don't think that's necessarily real news, but a return to Houston would be extremely fun. I would love to see him end his career with the Rockets. Would be absolutely crazy. Too Clutch Corey, I think talking about the Timberwolves definitely does need a third team. Yes. King Nacho says, W. Sheldon, appreciate you. King Nacho, let's see if we can get some confetti in here quick. Appreciate you guys. Trade deadline's already been a lot of fun. And this hard news is a huge shakeup. JRH says Harden to the Lakers for LeBron. Could you imagine a backcourt of Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and James Harden? As much as I love all three of those players, like Harden is one of my favorite players in NBA history. Luka's my favorite player in the league right now. So I'm allowed to say this because they're my favorite players. I can joke about them. They would need an air pump on the sideline to blow the basketball up halfway through the game because they dribbled the air out of the ball. So I don't know. That would be crazy. JR, that'd be crazy. Kevin here says, brother, create a Houston Rockets trade that needs to happen now. We will. Let's go back and look at the Houston Rockets trade. Again, if you're the Clippers, you're thinking either a really promising young player or some form of draft control. If I had to bet, and Houston can give you a really promising young player if you want one in Tari Eason. They did not extend him. He will be a restricted free agent this offseason. He would be a huge headliner piece for the Clippers to get in a deal. That would be something they can really sell their fan base on. And then from there, depending on how the Clippers want to go about selling or how the Rockets would want to go about putting together this package, Dorian Finney-Smith could be a guy that goes in the package that helps the Clippers stay competitive. This is a package where, remember, Fred VanVleet played with Kawhi in Toronto. Dorian Finney-Smith's a competitive NBA player. I know he hasn't had the best season here in Houston, but this is a guy the Clippers, I think, would have some legitimate interest in. And then Tari Eason, like really solid young player that a lot of teams should have interest in and want on their roster. And then from there, they could go like Chris Paul and Kobe Brown. And financially, this works for both sides. Both teams stay below that first apron threshold. The Clippers reshift their team going from Harden to Van Vliet, but then they also add some really meaningful depth where you do kind of downgrade your point guard a little bit, but you get some other meaningful pieces back. So this is kind of the trade that I would like a lot, honestly. Idea Main here says the Beard and Spida together. Two Adidas legends, right? You got the Spida ones. Donovan Mitchell's with Adidas, right? Adidas. Yeah, he is. Okay, that's what I thought. I second guessed myself. I've got so many shoes. It's funny because these made their debut on the stream today. I was talking about my Harden 9s, which I love so much. But I do not own a pair of Donovan Mitchells, so maybe I'm not as cultured as I thought. Do I think Denver will? No, I do not. I would be shocked. BX here says that would be the worst defensive team in the league. If you're talking about the Cavs, or you're talking about the Lakers, probably. I'm presuming. Yeah, that would not be pretty. Benchmaster here says, "Holy shit, I'm right, or am I right?" Yeah, this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. SP says Toronto seems like the best fit for Harden and Paul at a center like Sharp, and you're set. The Raptors, again, like from a player standpoint, that does make some sense, but I don't know if it fits the overall chemistry of the team and the way that they play. You're looking at something like these two salaries, and then Chris Paul goes, and then you're probably looking at a pick in here to the Clippers. Something like this makes some sense. The Raptors get out of Quickly's money. Clippers could sell their fan base on, hey, we're getting a guy who's a decade younger than James Harden, and we're also shaving off a little bit of money this season as well. Maybe could even dip below the tax, which would be interesting. Arthur says Harden is a traitor, leaving his boy Kawhi hanging. I mean, we'll see what Kawhi Leonard's future holds too, but I don't know. We'll see. Kevin says, can Rockets get both Harden and Zubats for Tari Eason, Steven Adams, Capella, Dorian Finney-Smith, and picks? I mean, if we go back to, I mean, there's a world where you could look at something like that, right? Where Zubats, who makes $18 million, like, could he theoretically be included in a trade here? Yes, Steven Adams would be one of the cap casualties that has to go in that with his season-ending injury. Maybe that's something the Rockets would actually entertain. The issue here is you start to get really close to the first apron, and the Rockets would have to fill at least one, probably two roster spots if I'm counting right. But in this as well, the Rockets could give up like this Phoenix first and even something else if they wanted to, right? But like that would be kind of your starting point in a trade. This would make the Rockets a lot better, certainly. The Rockets would drastically improve their team this year. We'll see what happens, but Brendan here wants to know if this is a Kings as a third team type of deal. It possibly could be. It depends on what's coming back for Harden. If it's expiring salary, then the Kings could get involved, right? Like you could see a way where Sacramento could. I mean, the Kings could definitely get involved in this because the salaries line up with some of their pieces. Another option. Let's go look at Toronto again. Get them back on the phone, and we're going to add Sacramento as a third team here because I'm kind of fascinated by what this could possibly look like. The Kings are at the bottom here. Sorry. Sorry for the stray. I shouldn't have said that out loud. But let's say just hypothetically Harden and Sabonis to the Raptors, Quickly to the Clippers, RJ Barrett to the Kings, Jakob Poeltl to the Kings. This is a really drastic shift for all the teams involved, but perhaps could theoretically work. And in this process, the Kings are getting a little bit too much money back on their books, so they will send out someone like Devin Carter to the Clippers in this deal. The salaries do align. Obviously, there would need to be some form of picks, probably the Clippers getting some assets from Toronto, Kings maybe getting some asset from Toronto, but all of a sudden the Raptors add Sabonis and Harden. Two of the best players now available on the market. The Clippers get some young guards in Quickly and Devin Carter. Kings get RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl. I don't love this. I'm not like super enamored with this, but it theoretically could work. But again, I think more likely than not, We probably wouldn't see a trade construction like that. The team that has been most reported on right now is Cleveland. So I'm going to put this one back up on the stream here. You could also argue that the Clippers probably give up some form of draft capital in this too, maybe a couple of second-round picks in this deal. And so, something like this, theoretically, you could sell yourself on. So definitely can understand it from the Clippers' perspective too. Ash says I would add OKC into there. Are you talking about as a third team, to facilitate trade assets and stuff possibly? That could make sense. Otherwise, I mean, the Thunder, I don't think the Thunder would trade for James Harden. I'd be shocked. Carlos says, what's up, Sheldon? Two sources already saying my Blazers want to get in the mix for Giannis, not just be a facilitator. Are you a betting man? Giannis to Portland. I'm not a betting man, but I have been talking at length about a potential Giannis to Portland trade for a while now, so I would definitely be very fascinated. And Holy Trinity says the Spurs will definitely move Sohan. If I was a betting man, where would Harden go? Man, I've had about 30 minutes now to let this sit and simmer in my mind. Cleveland makes sense here if the Cavs are betting against Darius Garland's health. But, man, what a good story it would be. What a great story it would be if he is a Houston Rocket. How great would that be? I would be so happy to see Harden back in Houston to end his career. That would be super sick. I needed to put another salary in there as well. Whoops. I believe it was Kobe Brown who I'd been putting in to this deal. So, yeah, something like this. But, man, how fun would that be, huh? That would just be absolutely awesome. Aiden says the NBA should suspend Pelinka for the malpractice he's used on the Lakers. I mean, he got you guys Luka Doncic literally a year ago today. So I would not be too mad at him. Aiden. Kiko says, does this Harden Cavs trade news mean LeBron goes back to Cleveland next summer? I mean, it possibly could, right? LeBron could do whatever he wants if he's willing to sign for the minimum. I don't think he's going to do that, but we'll see. Benchmaster says, I love Harden to Minnesota. I do think there's a really good fit there. I think specifically Harden alongside Rudy Gobert would be a tremendous pairing. I think it would maximize Rudy Gobert significantly on the offensive end of the floor. Let's go over to Twitter real quick, and then I will cook up a trade to Minnesota. But off the dome, my favorite fits for James Harden from an on-court standpoint. Number 1, Houston Rockets. Number 2, Cleveland Cavaliers. Actually, no, I'm going to make the Cavaliers 3. Number 2, the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then number 4, let me pull up NBA standings just so I can look at all of the teams. I don't mind Detroit. Detroit's an okay possibility, I guess. What about the Golden State Warriors? How crazy would that be? I don't know. I'm going to put 4 Toronto Raptors. Don't think this will happen, though. I don't know. Those are off the top of my head. Four destinations that are my favorite fits for James Harden. I really do like him returning to Houston, but let's go back over to the trade machine now. Very excited. This is really rejuvenating me. 450 people watching live. By the way, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel in case you haven't already. Now, how do the Minnesota Timberwolves get to this salary threshold? Naz Reid, and now this is where you run into issues, because what numbers do you want to use? Conley, Dillingham. The issue with this is it's not enough money going out for Minnesota, which means they need to trade another player. The question is, which player do they trade then? And how do they get to that salary? You're going to need a third team. And then the issue is not only, I guess they would have, theoretically this could work. We're just going to get Brooklyn on the phone. Brooklyn gets to have Leonard Miller for free, which is awesome. Good for Brooklyn. Leonard Miller goes to the Nets. This trade financially works. Minnesota turns the body of Mike Conley into James Harden. Send out Rob Dillingham as a young player. And Naz Reid is a Clipper in this as well. This framework works. The Timberwolves would have $5.5 million to fill out the rest of their roster. They would have to sign 3 players. So you're looking at converting two-way guys like Tristan Newton, for example. You're looking at prorated minimums, just barely squeezing under this number where they're hard capped. But it would work. Harden would be an awesome addition to this team, and they'd be very, very good. Clippers get younger. They get a really, really fun player in Naz Reid who could start for them long term. And Dillingham would be like the upside bet in this. Gosh, I was not expecting making James Harden trades tonight. Mosen here says, I think if Zubats was actually available, the Pacers would be all over that. I do agree. I don't think Zubats will actually get traded, but if Houston was willing to part with a bunch of stuff, including maybe that Brooklyn swap in 2027, maybe the Clippers would consider strongly. Brendan says it's a fair and accurate stray. Yeah, sorry about that for your Kings. Tim says, so with the news that LBJ wants to move on from the Lakers and they want to move on from him, where do you see him going? I do not think he'll get traded. I would be very surprised if LeBron James is traded, to be honest. Cope Approach says, not a fan of that deal for Toronto. Totally understand that, especially the 3-teamers. Jimmy says, bro, you're still live. I'm live again because we have the news on James Harden. So I am going to be live pretty much anytime there's news. The only time I won't be live is tomorrow night because I am coaching a basketball game, so I just cannot be. I'll be literally on the road away from my house. Otherwise, I wish I could stream tomorrow night too. I will be streaming tomorrow morning and everything before I have to go. Caden here says, dude, as a Cavs fan, if this trade happens, I'm done. Harden doesn't play defense and is not efficient. Only way I'm doing this is if we end up getting John Collins as well. I mean, I don't know. Harden is not a downgrade from Darius Garland. I do understand like being upset because you're getting way older. I would totally understand being upset just in general, even though Harden's one of my favorite players. This is not true, by the way, what you're seeing here on the screen right now. That is not true. That's what you call defensive coverages. When you get double teamed at half court, you're not going to score the ball as much. Jerball here says Harden and CP3 back in Houston would be fun. Definitely would be. Milwaukee Card says if Giannis gets traded to Portland, do Bucks then end up with both Milwaukee and Portland picks in 2028 and 2030, or do the swap rights just flip? Sorry, this might not make sense. No, it's a great question. It depends on what the trade looks like, because it's possible that they could just renounce the swap rights and return the picks back to each other, where Portland has their own pick, Milwaukee has their own pick, or they could trade the swap rights itself, where then Milwaukee has the swap rights between the two assets, which would be more preferable than Milwaukee just having their own, because then they have the better of the two, regardless of what happens. Or the third option is they just flat out trade the asset completely, and then Milwaukee has both of Portland and Milwaukee's own picks, which is why, again, Portland makes the most sense for the Bucks to trade with, because they basically get 2 picks for 1 in a trade if they do it like that. So Oblonsky here says LeBron could go to the Clippers. Would be funny. Definitely would be crazy. Blazers Bra says, is Miles Turner likely to get traded with Giannis or to another team? More likely that he'll get traded separately from Giannis. But I do think the Warriors would be one circumstance where Miles Turner could get traded with him, which would be very fascinating. Josh Hyde says, could Minnesota get Harden and Giannis? No, I would not. I mean, like, financially, yes, but I don't think they would do that, Josh, which is a great question. Carlos says your boy Scoot or Shaden to go to the Bucks. Who goes? Scoot would if it's a trade this year, because Shaden's on a poison pill provision. Grant and Thibault for sure, plus all Milwaukee's picks. Orlando's unprotected first and future Portland first. That is similar to the deals I've talked about. I've also included Hansen Yang and Chris Murray in some of the packages too, because Milwaukee would want a couple more young players, I would guess. But that is a, like you're saying here, like that's something you'd be willing to part with, in my opinion, too. Jimmy says it's dribble, 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 step back shot. Then when he doesn't have the ball, he stands there, doesn't set screens for others or rebound. I do agree. Like, especially at this stage, Harden is flawed. Harden could get away with that 6-7 years ago, because he was the best isolation player of all time at that point in time. So at that point, he could do whatever he wants. But right now, it's not a super ideal situation. Tyler says Orlando. He's still really great, though. Harden is still really great. Tyler says Orlando should trade Wendell Carter to the Celtics and reroute Simons to a third team. Definitely wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Eggs Benedict here says, I think that Minnesota trade is a very good one. I think all teams involved do get something meaningful out of it. Hark here says, what's the news on Harden? Is this something real or speculation? Let's go back over to Twitter. I should get in the habit of showing that even a little bit more frequently just to make sure for people who are tuning in that I'm not just going crazy. This is a report from Shams here. The LA Clippers and 11-time All-Star James Harden are working together through whether the sides can find a deal by Thursday's NBA trade deadline. Sources tell ESPN both sides are aligned in conversations together and with interested teams. So Harden is controlling his own future, at least to a certain extent. Appreciate Basketball Business for the follow. Appreciate Brick Van Exel. That's a great username there. Appreciate you, Jay, for the follow. Appreciate you, Dre, as well as Blue Jays Pipeline. Thank you guys all so much for the follows over on Twitter. Link is in the description for that. And let's go back over to Kelly Iko as well, who covers the league for Yahoo, saying that the Clippers have engaged in trade talks surrounding veteran guard James Harden, with the Cavaliers at the forefront of teams. Again, I want to emphasize multiple teams very clearly. Both Shams and Iko here have stated the word teams very pointedly, that multiple teams are interested in possibly acquiring James Harden, and Cleveland at the forefront of that right now in a package that would be centered around presumably Darius Garland, which would be obviously a very drastic shakeup. But this deal is one that I do like a lot. Pally Danik says Harden is good for 1 to 2 games in a series, so no. Yeah, it's usually the 1 or 2 games where he doesn't get blitzed at half court the entire time. I mean, if you get double teamed 40 feet away from the hoop, it's hard to score. You do need your teammates to make shots. James Harden would have won an NBA Finals, by the way, if Trevor Ariza didn't go 0 of 10 from 3 in Game 7 against Golden State. If even he makes 2 of them, James Harden wins an NBA Finals, and it's whatever. Scream here says Harden Garland is a lateral move for both parties. Who benefits from the move? First of all, I think Harden as a pick and roll distributor is better than Garland. So I do think it is a short-term advantage for Cleveland around Mobley, around Allen. I think if you're looking to maximize your current core to its fullest potential this season, the Cavs do get slightly better right now getting James Harden. And I think, you can argue, is it worth it or not? I still think they get slightly better getting Harden this season. But for the Clippers, it's very sensible because you're getting 10 years younger, a guy under contract who could be one of your young faces of your franchise. And Darius Garland, that would cause a lot of excitement. Clippers fans in the Intuit Dome, I think, would be very happy to have a young player who's looked at as some form of star in the NBA. Cheesehead says Timberwolves likely more aggressive trying to get Giannis than Harden. We'll see what happens. I mean, I just don't really think it's super feasible that Minnesota gets Giannis. I could be wrong, obviously, but I don't know. I just don't think it's the most feasible. Clutch here says trade Zubats to Indiana while you're at it. I don't think Zubats will actually be readily available, but he would be awesome for Indy. Milwaukee Card says thanks for the clarification on the pick situation with Giannis in Portland. Yes, it's a really great question. I'm glad you brought it up too, because that nuance is super important, and it will be the main thing I'm watching for if a Portland-Milwaukee trade materializes. Yes, like One Hand Yusuf is saying, Rockets missed 27 threes in a row. Yeah, and a lot of them were wide open looks because Golden State was consistently showing 2 bodies to Harden. He just needed his teammates to make a few open threes. They didn't do it. Blazers Bro says, what if Portland could get both? Talking about Harden and Giannis, I don't think that would happen. They theoretically could, but I think if Portland is getting Giannis, they're going to try and build a really defensive, insulated team with Kamani Kamara and Avdia and Klingon and Drew Holiday being in that starting lineup next to Giannis. So I think that would be more of their intent there. Scream wants to know, why would Giannis leave a small market team to another small market team like the Timberwolves? Unlikely to happen. Giannis to Miami is more likely. I don't think Giannis should care about market. I think he should care about winning. That's why it's not like Milwaukee's first in the Eastern Conference right now and he wants to trade because he's not in a big market. He wants to trade because they're 11th in the East. That's the big difference. Theater Angel says, did you not watch the Clippers-Nuggets game 7 last year? Would not even look at the hoop. I mean, yes, if you want to use, like, I do think that was probably one of his worst playoff games. It's also, he was in his age 35 season. Like, I'm not going to use that one game as an indicator on his entire career as a context. So, Josh, you're welcome. I blessed the stream with that. Chris here says, can the Hornets be a third team for the trade? Yes, I'm a big Hornets fan. They theoretically could. They have expiring salaries. Definitely could be a team to watch for. Roz here says, extremely unexpected. I wonder if something is happening behind the scenes. Harden hasn't been at the last 2 games. Yes, he has missed the games because of personal reasons, which obviously at the time I kind of just figured, something's going on. He's not going to be, like, I didn't think it was going to be a trade thing. Sure enough. Narciso Polito, says, do you think my Spurs do anything before the trade deadline? I don't want Giannis or Harden. They'll definitely do something, I think, around Kelly Olynyk's salary and or Jeremy Sohan's salary. Bobby Portis has been a name that we've talked about a bit for them. By tomorrow, I'll try and have a couple of other ideas too. Damo says, Windhorst talking in the latest podcast about the Cavs trying to get him special shoes for the current foot injury. Makes me worry about how significant that injury was. I did not listen to Windhorst or that podcast, but Garland's dealt with a lot of injury stuff throughout his career so far, just missing long stretches of time, unfortunately. The one thing, no matter how much you want to knock James Harden, the guy is constantly available. He plays injured, he plays through contact, plays through physicality, and he plays high-minute loads as well. So he'll be available. Joe says, I only just joined, so would have been talked about, but is Harden worth any first at this point? Would anyone give up a first? I think if you're giving up a first for James Harden, it would look something like this package where the first isn't necessarily just for James Harden at this state of his career, but it's also to get off of a certain salary. So if you do something like James Harden for Emmanuel Quickley, where the Raptors would maybe have to give up an asset anyway to get off of Quickley's salary because he's got a lot of years left, 3 seasons left on the books at this point. Could the Raptors, who have had a really great season, mortgage this first-round pick to get off of Quickley and get James Harden? That could be sensible. I do think this makes the Raptors better talent-wise, but I don't necessarily think this is a fit for the way that they play stylistically. So maybe you're looking for a third team where Harden goes somewhere else, but I don't necessarily hate it. Bao here says, does Ja Morant still get traded or does he stay? I guess you could consider the Grizzlies as a possible Ja Morant team, or as a potential James Harden team, where it would look something like this, and maybe the Clippers give up a couple of second-round picks in the process here too. Harden goes to Memphis around a pretty interesting core. The Grizzlies get an elite offensive initiator, pick-and-roll creator for them, and the Clippers get the upside bet on Ja Morant, returning kind of back to his standard ways. Carlos says, last question, Sheldon, if Giannis comes to Rip City, do you think they have a shot to win it all next season with a healthy Dame, Drew, Sharp, Avdia, Kamara, Klingon, and Caleb Love? I think some of it would hinge on where their 2026 pick falls, because even if they get Giannis this year, they could still theoretically miss the playoffs, maybe move up in the lottery, and then all of a sudden Blazers have one of the best futures in the league and a very good short-term roster. So we'll see what happens. Basketball Business says, appreciate the stream. Appreciate you, my man. Glad to have you in here. Slick Sophistication says it's a 3-team trade: Grizzlies, Clippers, Cavaliers. And the question there then is, if that's the case, if it's a 3-team deal with Cleveland and the Grizzlies, who's going where? Is it Ja Morant to the Clippers and then Garland to the Grizzlies and Harden to the Cavs? And then the second-round picks instead go to Cleveland as well? I mean, perhaps, right? Something like this. If it's like a guard-for-guard swap, there's some sensibility there as well. Darius Garland, remember, went to college in Vanderbilt. So Tennessee, Colin. Yo says Giannis to get his move. If so, top 3 destinations. We've talked a lot about him today already, but just really quick, I would say Portland, Golden State, and Miami will be in the mix. Minnesota would be in the mix. I still like Atlanta, but I don't think the Hawks will do it. And I don't think the Spurs will either. Yo says Giannis wants to win. He's already tried with Dame. It's not happening. Well, part of the issue why he hasn't won is his teams have been old and slow and not very deep. If he gets to Portland, he's playing with a young, talented, defensive-minded roster that is young with Toumani Camara, Denny Avdia, Donovan Clingan. Like, that team would be able to guard for sure. So, Willie says, what if Kawhi requests a trade after if James Harden gets traded? I mean, could, but I don't think that'll happen. I think Kawhi probably wants to stay in LA. And Chenko here says, besides anything with Yabu, do you think my Knicks would do something else? Not anything huge. Scream says, you are a solid basketball analyst and have good knowledge base. Just stumbled upon your page. Top blue chip analyst for sure. Keep it up. Appreciate you, my guy here, Sam. Glad you're enjoying the show so far. I'll be live all week long, so this is the place you want to be. Who would line up for Kawhi? Again, I don't really expect a lot of teams to be doing that, and I don't really expect Kawhi Leonard to actually ask out. But if you do look at Kawhi, he is on a multi-year deal yet at this point. He has this year and next year. And you could see maybe even a team like Philly would probably have some interest. They have the Clippers picks. So could you do something like this and, Paul George theoretically to the Clippers in a return for him for Kawhi? Like, in theory, this would work. This is we'd have to attach one more salary. So let me go solve that real quick. We'll put Chris Paul in this to the Sixers, and there we go. But yeah, financially, like, this would work. Sixers, I mean, it would be understandable. Hark, hopefully your sciatica is healthy and well. Hopefully you heal up great. Silent Collector says, if I'm the Bucks front office, I don't know. I don't care how untouchable the 2026 pick from the Hawks is. I'm trying to snag that pick, even if it takes taking on Porzingis with him being injury prone. Porzingis will be a part of the deal for sure. Nick here says, look at your notifications. Nothing happened. Thanks for that, Nick. My best friend, who's a Clippers fan, he was just on a flight from Arizona back home, and he texted me, this is a word for word, no way Harden gets moved, right? What the hell did I miss on my flight? And then he said, it's not happening. It can't. Are you home? Maybe we should try and get him in the stream. It'd be honestly hilarious. He's still on the plane. Oh my gosh. Call me when you are out. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. It's absolutely crazy. Dylan says, I feel like Harden and Lopez to Detroit is the best fit. It can work. Let's talk about the Pistons. Obviously, they could be a destination as well. We talked a lot about Detroit today. They're in a great spot. They could go out and buy at the deadline if they want to. Something around Tobias Harris's salary, Jaden Ivey's salary. Now, I think Detroit would want to get bigger. I think they would look for a front court player, if anything. But something like this does theoretically work, where Harden would be another initiator for them alongside Cade Cunningham. It would be a huge shakeup for sure. John, thank you for the 10. Let's get some W's in the chat for John. Appreciate you so much with the $10 super chat. Says, have a late night energy drink on us. I need something stronger to help me with the depressing Timberwolves roller coaster. Have a feeling they won't make any trades, or worse, they gut it for Giannis. We'll see what they do. Obviously, a lot of Wolves fans right now are rooting for a Giannis trade, but I do think that comes at a significant long-term risk. So, John, I do appreciate you a ton. I'm going to update the ticker here now. As well. John Strosity, appreciate you big time, my man. Thanks for always tuning into the streams. He's a diehard Minnesota Timberwolves fan, so I really do appreciate you big time. And I'll be rooting for your Wolves for you. Obviously, I know that team pretty well. Covered them for a full season a couple of years ago, and do still enjoy. I watched them tonight against Memphis. prior to the stream here. Jake says, sorry if I missed it, but who do you think realistically is the best chance to land Giannis via trade? I still think Portland and Golden State are the top two, which is what I thought earlier today. T-Dog says, I just drove back 2 hours from Indy from watching my Rockets get a dub. Any news I missed from my team? Well, just a possible reunion with James Harden. There's not any definitive reporting on that at this point, but Kelly Iko, who is very tapped in specifically with the Houston Rockets, he was one of the first people to break the fact that the Clippers were possibly going to trade James Harden. So a trade return to Houston is something that does make some sense for all the parties involved. The Rockets could get a nice young player here. They could send back a couple of smaller salaries like a Kobe Brown, like a Chris Paul to financially make it work. It's a 3-for-3 trade. No one has to worry about roster space. They both stay above the first apron or below the first apron, underneath of it. And in the process, the Clippers get a young player in Tari Eason who they could keep for their future. Dorian Finney-Smith and Fred VanVleet, 2 players who going forward in the future could help them stay competitive in the short term. And then Houston obviously gets the dramatic upgrade with no real point guard in the mix right now. Adding James Harden to your lineup would be stellar for this team. Stellar. Very excited. Boutron here says, Morant and Kawhi, Blazer fan here, but that would be an interesting duo, not personality-wise, though, maybe. Would be a huge shakeup for sure. Kigo says, do you think Harden requested for a trade because of the Kawhi scandal and his contract can be voided at any time? So first of all, the Kawhi investigation, if that's what we're calling it, which I think is a little bit of a hoax anyway, the NBA is not going to do anything. They're definitely not going to void Kawhi's contract. I guarantee it. But that is set to wrap up after the All-Star break. This is a very huge shakeup, though, obviously. Best of Worst says the 6-7 trend got started. It's a meme. I don't know. I saw you predicted Schroder or Strus to be salary dumped. Do you think Lonzo is on that roster post-deadline? Probably not. Like, they could still use his salary as well. But if they salary dump Lonzo, that doesn't get them below the tax unless something else happens. My best friend here texted me, I'm still in shock. I don't see this getting done. He will remain a Clipper. Remain in all caps is awesome. I'm so excited to talk to him. The LA Clippers are looking to find a third team for this deal per sources. Remember, if something happens, make sure to tag me on Twitter. Mosin here says Minnesota receives Harden, Jay Huff. Clippers receive Mathurin, McConnell, Dillingham. Pacers receive Nasri, Conley, Behringer, who says no. I don't think Indiana is going to be involved in that. But if anything, if Indiana is involved with the Clippers in a trade, I do think it would be around Zubats. But I don't think that's going to happen. Theodore says a Clippers fan, they still exist. That's part of the reason why he became a Clippers fan. He wanted to be the lone wolf, so to speak, in a fan base. Jordan says, what website am I using? I'm using Fanspo, which you can see right here. Fanspo. That's what I'm using. If James is leaving, seems a little bit weird. Maybe it has something to do with the allegations and Adam Silver is about to give out punishments. I understand that idea, but I'm not certain that that's going to be the reality. Love seeing those W. Johns fly in the chat here. Blazers Bros says, I think Drew is getting traded out for personal reasons again. I mean, we'll see. If Drew gets traded, it might give us an indication on where Giannis could be going if Drew does get dealt, but we'll see. Maybe Chris Paul was right, and it was Ty Lue all along. Chris Paul is about winning. That's one thing I do know. He's very, very passionate about winning. Rockets should have brought Harden back home. Says Brett, appreciate you, Brett. We got 450 people watching here live. I'm going to check quick how the stream is doing in terms of likes. I'm expecting you guys to be killing it. 113 likes. Earlier today, we hit 265. So that is the like goal, is beating 265. Can we get to 266 today? Bao says Bucks have their franchise back a decade if they don't trade him now at probably his highest value. No one will risk the player option with 1 year left. I do agree with you here, Bao. That they should trade him now. Benjamin B says Yabusele in seconds for Terry and Clarkson and seconds for Makovich. Definitely a possibility, right? All right. Theater says, same front office that has screwed up the team coaching around Giannis is the same group still in charge. They're not trading him. It's not smart. But then again, neither are they. Well, that's the thing is this might be their ticket to saving their jobs. If they're the ones who make the rebuild trade, maybe the ownership will let them be the ones who oversee the rebuild. So if they want to save their job, right now it's either convince Giannis to stay forever, which is a terrible choice, or, hey, we are starting a rebuild. Let us oversee this rebuild. And if the owner is smart and looks at the draft history and says, oh, you took A.J. Johnson in the first round, how about we don't do that? But I don't know. We'll see what happens there for sure. Kamar here says, I don't care if Darius Garland has 2 broken feet. I do not want Harden in Cleveland, man. Harden, I get it, but I also don't get it. He's got the biggest haters of all time. Man, he is not well received. He is not well received, but I understand why. Garland for James Harden. This is still one of the leaders in the clubhouse trade ideas. I think the Bucks' best deal is with Miami, says Tyrone King. Definitely understand that perspective. We'll see what they were able to do with Tyler Hero. I'd be a little inquisitive about that. But Ash says that Giannis is definitely gone, and you would be dumb to think otherwise. Front office loses leverage every day. Would imagine the deal happens Wednesday or early tomorrow afternoon. Definitely going to watch for it. I think if they're smart, they trade him Wednesday and just get done with it. But we'll see. Let's go here. Damon says, do you think Cavs are getting ready to sign LeBron in the summer with Harden? Rumors said he's done with Lakers and Cavs are the front runners. Like, theoretically, yes, but the issue, realistically, LeBron should sign for the minimum. If he wants to try and win at the very end of his career, if he signs for the minimum, provides any better impact than the minimum, which he definitely would, he can be a huge plus for his contract value. And he's a billionaire already. He does not need more money. He does not need the $50 million a year. Now, I'm not against him getting that amount of money when he's been worth it, but going into next season, he is not going to be worth a max contract. And if you want to play somewhere, you want to try and load the dice in your favor and load the deck, so to speak, and be on the best team possible, take less than the max. Take the minimum and fit in and be a huge impact piece on a great team. If you're making $54 million, it's a lot harder to put a team around you. So, Rod Giles here says, do you think the Lakers will make a trade? I definitely do expect them to make one or multiple trades. And Theater says, that's my point. The Bucks front office are idiots. Yes. John Strosity says, the Wolves say, hell no. Dylan Kalan says, trading Tari Eason would be a mistake. I totally understand that perspective. I love Tari Eason as a player. The only issue is they did not extend him, so he is a restricted free agent. I think a team like Washington will have some interest in him in restricted free agency. So who knows what will happen with Tari Eason, but it's possible that the Rockets kind of get backed into a corner and could possibly lose him for nothing with a huge offer sheet coming through. Damon here says, let's go back over to Twitter. Make sure you guys are tagging me and stuff if you see it, @_utility sports over there on Twitter. Let's see what we've got. Appreciate you, Billion Pesos. Utility Sports. Clippers are stunned. Oh, this is per Brett Siegel. So, if you want to know what I think about that, I don't know. It's all a lot of wishy-washy stuff. This has been for weeks, by the way, but he didn't tweet it. So, he's got, let me see, 34,000 tweets, but he didn't tweet about it until after everyone else broke the news tonight. You let me know what you think. Sure. Shams on James Harden. When you have a mutual option, you have a small partial guarantee of about $40 million. He's also thinking about what is my future with the Clippers? Is there a potential fit somewhere else? And also, is there a path toward competing for a championship? So, kind of a lot of the same things I talked about, a little bit of other stuff in there too, but really the competitiveness was kind of the biggest thing for me. And the Clippers just haven't been elite. They've been elite lately, but they've not been elite this season. So Drew and Giannis did win it together. Jordan wants to know what if John Morant goes to Golden State. Definitely would be fun to watch. Not sure if that'll happen, though. It's not like out of the realm of possibility, though, by any stretch. Sean here says, sources tell me Rob Pelinka is at Disneyland days before the deadline. Hey, to be honest, he earned himself a year plus some change vacation getting Luka for basically nothing last trade deadline. Basketball Business, thank you so much for the 2, says, great stream. Thoughts on the Celtics plan? Do they duck the tax? That will be hard for them because they are technically in the apron right now. In order for them to duck the tax, they would basically have to entirely salary dump Anthony Simons and take back just a tiny bit of salary. They could still stay below. So definitely would be not impossible, but not super likely either. But Basketball Business, thank you for the 2. I really do appreciate you. I'm updating you onto my ticker there at the bottom as well because I'm trying to keep up with all the super chats. So at the end of the week, I can thank everybody one final time. Very, very thankful and grateful. The super chats do go a long way in supporting the channel, supporting my work and all my time and everything. So thank you very much. And hopefully I was able to answer your question there that I don't expect Boston to duck the tax. Maybe they get below that first apron. That's, I think, a very real possibility. But we will watch and see. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Some more news. Raptors and Pelicans tried reaching out to the Clippers for James Harden, but he wasn't interested in joining those teams per Tomer. I do trust Tomer, by the way. Tomer is a great source here on the Clippers. I do trust his reporting on this situation. If seems like Toronto and NOLA are no-goes for Harden as of now. Definitely interesting. Not the most shocking thing. We did talk about Toronto as a possibility, but it's not surprising. I also, for Toronto, I said I just don't even know if that fit makes a lot of sense either. So Harden wanted a 2-year, $80 million extension from the Clippers, but they weren't interested in giving it to him. Clippers have been long prioritizing their cap space. That's something we talked about earlier today even as well, for them being future players. So great stuff here from the NBA Central, again from Tomer. Jalen, thank you for tagging me over there on Twitter as well. Remember, guys, if you tag me on Twitter, I'll be able to see every single thing you guys share. Thank you, Josh, for being in the stream. Thanks for tagging me and stuff. Just here says Harden is the best shooting guard. He's really a point guard at this point, obviously. Let's go over to Tomer. Actually used to work with Tomer. He's a really nice guy. Do trust his reporting a lot on the Clippers. He is very much tapped in with the Clippers. And let's go over to, we'll go to his Clutch Points article real quick. Clippers have long been prioritizing their cap space heading into the summer of 2027. In addition to the, okay, I'll read it here. I know you guys can't see it, but from this article, in addition to the Cleveland Cavaliers, league sources tell Clutch Points that the Minnesota Timberwolves have also had trade discussions with the Clippers around James Harden. The Wolves have been in the market for a veteran guard to play alongside Anthony Edwards, but have not been able to gain traction on a deal as of Monday night. The Raptors and Pelicans have also inquired about potentially trading for Harden, but sources say Harden has no interest in joining either franchise via trade. Remember, the Clippers, who started the year 6-21, have now won 17 of their last 21 games. So a lot in that piece there. Again, the Timberwolves are one of those teams that I do think makes a lot of sense. Working on finding a trade with the Cleveland Cavaliers as one of the teams. So I don't want to
joins us here on SportsCenter, and everyone's been focused on Giannis.
Listen here, I'll tell you what he says. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it or not.
The Clippers out in LA.
Michael, this is somewhat a stunner. The LA Clippers and 11-time All-Star
James calls it a
James Harden
stunner.
are working through whether they can find a trade for Harden out of LA by Thursday's NBA trade deadline. And my understanding is both of these sides have been aligned in these conversations, and it's been made possible because he has a mutual option in his contract for next season. It's a
mutual option for next season.
Guarantee. That has allowed both of these sides over the last few days to have conversations about whether he has a long-term future potentially in LA and whether that could be possible. And so now both sides are discussing, is there a mutually beneficial option? Is there a beneficial thing for James Harden to land with a team that he wants to go compete for a championship. This is a Clippers
He
team
wants
that
to
right now
compete
is
for a
in the play-in
championship,
tournament
according to
race.
Shams.
Can I land to a team and go to a championship? And the Clippers are saying, can we find a player, potentially a younger player,
The Clippers are looking for a younger player
long term? One of the teams that has jumped out as among the most interested teams for Harden right now,
Sorry, Brett.
the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, obviously championship expectations right now with the Clippers.
My gut
one of the
feeling on
most
where
interested
Giannis
teams
lands
in him,
is
from
between
my
Portland
understanding.
and Golden State.
James
at this
Harden has the
point.
power and all this. He has a no trade clause.
Okay, so based on that information, it does seem like Cleveland is probably the front runner, like the genuine front runner. We'll obviously keep our eyes on this situation. I mean, this is, again, just huge news. We've been live for over an hour, got 430 people watching live. This is just absolutely crazy stuff and not something we were expecting to discuss today. And earlier today, I said I would be shocked if the Cavaliers broke up their core four, but it could theoretically be in a deal that looks like this, maybe a couple of second-round picks out the door from Cleveland as well, depending on what this package looks like. But some future stuff for Cleveland that could help them replenish their pick capital to a small extent, while also, in my opinion, upgrading the team for the very short term. Pickle Luke here says, I love your videos. Can you make some Milwaukee Bucks projection trades? And who is your favorite NBA team? My favorite NBA team growing up was the Dallas Mavericks. So I would classify myself as a Mavericks fan. But I just love the NBA. I'm a basketball guy first. Love the entire league. Love the NBA. I watch games every single night. It's my passion. Is just the NBA as a whole. So Dark Reaper wants to know about Orlando. I think Jonathan Isaac's salary dump, Dark Reaper, is the most likely outcome. Theater Angel wants to know about Harden to the Mavs. I just unfortunately don't expect that to happen, although I would buy a jersey ASAP. One of my favorite players of all time is James Harden, and I would get – I mean, I already have the Harden jerseys pretty much everywhere. So I would probably need to add another one to the collection. Joe says, what do you think Colin Sexton's value is? Probably 1 second-round pick, roughly. The deadline is Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I think Orlando definitely does dump Jonathan Isaac. I don't know where. It could be Brooklyn, could be Utah, could be any number of teams. It depends on what else we see before then. But, Charlotte could theoretically be an option because they could also, I think, use his services. Landon here says, so what would you think for both sides? If it ends up being Garland for Harden, I would think for the Clippers, this would be like an A+, just in terms of reestablishing their future to a slight extent. And then for the Cavaliers, probably like a B+, B. It's one of those things where, like, even though I love Harden and I do think he makes them better right now, it is a tough thing to stomach trading a 26-year-old for a 36-year-old. It's a challenge, right? So Eben here wants to know what's a good move for the Raptors. A trade for Domantas Sabonis, I think, would be very creative. Average YouTuber wants to know Jonathan Isaac's contract. He's making over $15 million this year. He's got 3 extra years on his contract. However, the final 2 are not guaranteed at all. And next season is only guaranteed for $8 million. So they can essentially salary dump him. He's making next to no money going forward on his contract. So and the reason why Orlando would do that, they project to be a second apron team next year. If they salary dump him now, they can get a little bit closer to that actual apron line and threshold after making the trade for Desmond Bane and rookie max extending Paulo Banchero last offseason. They need some cap relief, so that's why they would do that. They could get out of the tax this year, delay the repeater tax by a season, and then going forward, they are able to reshuffle the deck a little bit in terms of how much money they have on their roster. Husini here says 1 a.m. with almost 500 people in here. Yes, absolutely awesome. 2001 Gaming Fan says, appreciate your late night work. Think anything gets done tomorrow or just Wednesday, Thursday? I think tomorrow is definitely a possibility. Very, very excited for this week. Earlier today I said I think there's going to be some crazy stuff that we're not expecting. I said I had this weird sense that there's something big kind of looming that I had no idea what it was, and it seemingly is this James Harden news. So who knows? Maybe something else will come to. I don't have that sensation anymore. I don't have that feeling. I feel like we're now in the know, but you never know. This week is always one of the craziest. Last year it was Luka out of nowhere. It was a complete bomb, something that took the NBA world by storm. Honestly, even people I know in my life that I'm close with, friends with, and everything, acquaintances, people who aren't even basketball people were asking me, talking to me about it. They knew I was in awe and shocked by that trade even, and they're not even basketball people. So last year was absurd. I still think this year is going to have some real fireworks too. Steve here, you're funny, says our host seems smart and well-spoken. Whatever made him like Harden is beyond me. What poor taste in basketball. Too bad. I understand it. James Harden's going to get hated. I get it. What I do know, though, the guy can put the ball on the deck and he can put it in the hoop pretty damn good. Maybe not so much this year. His efficiencies are down, but whatever. Don't look at the numbers. Just eye test only, baby. That boy nice. That's what we're saying. Nikki here says Harden for Jabari Smith, Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, and Adams. I do think the more likely thing would be centering around Fred VanVleet's salary. But we'll pull that up again in case Houston, which right now the reporting doesn't seem to push for Houston. But if it was Houston, I think a trade that would center around VanVleet and Dorian Finney-Smith and Tari Eason is fairly sensible, with Kobe Brown and Chris Paul coming back as small salaries to facilitate the deal, with obviously Harden being the headliner. No picks in this fashion. Tari Eason would be the young player that the Clippers would want. You can tell for the Clippers, though, why this would probably be less appealing than a trade with Cleveland for Garland, or possibly even a trade with Memphis for Morant. The Clippers maybe not getting that high super upside in this kind of package relative to those other ones, but I do think their floor is genuinely safer here. Eason's a really solid young player who is not going to be making $38 million a year, which I like for the Clippers. So that's an option. Otherwise, if we go to Minnesota, this is another one where you look at Nas, you look at Conley, you look at Dillingham. We need a third team involved here to take on some money in Brooklyn. We're going to send them Leonard Miller, who I am still a believer in, by the way. Trade him to the Nets, and James Harden goes to Minnesota. This package does theoretically work. It gives Minnesota $5.5 million to fit in below the second apron, fill out the roster, sign 3 players that they'd have to probably convert a 2-way contract or 2, fill out their team. The Clippers get Naz Reid, who's the headliner in the deal for them. Dillingham, a really fun young player that could make some sense as an investment. Conley to kind of help weather the storm in the short term as a de facto point guard. And then the Nets just taking Leonard Miller to help the salary actually pan out here. But definitely not a bad possibility and outcome. Paulo is not getting traded because of the poison pill. That's a good memory from earlier today. Joe says, I'm really interested in whether the Hornets get aggressive, like you mentioned, as a possibility in your predictions, or if they wait. For Charlotte, I did predict that they could get aggressive, but I do want to point out, if Charlotte doesn't, they still have the offseason to get aggressive because they'll have the Grant Williams and Josh Green expirings, or they could wait until the 2027 deadline. So Hornets fans, we might be running it back next year asking the same question, but it wouldn't shock me if they do. It wouldn't shock me if they don't. They were kind of like, it was like a teeter-totter for me. I kept going back and forth. I was like, I have to give one prediction. I don't know which way I want to go. I wanted to go with the fun one where they were aggressive this year because I do think it's sensible. They're playing awesome. But if they're not, I'm not going to be upset about it. Yes, VanVleet does have a no-trade clause. I have talked about that. And, I don't think LA is the worst place. I don't think he'd be like, oh, no, don't trade me to Los Angeles. But, that is obviously something that would matter. He would be reconnected with Kawhi Leonard there, which would be interesting. Call Me Joel says that is a horrible trade. I don't know who you think it's a horrible trade for. That maybe means it's a good trade. Do you think it's horrible for Minnesota? Well, they really badly need a point guard. James Harden would be the best point guard in franchise history by a mile. The Clippers would get a lot younger. Not sure if you love it or hate it for the Clippers. And then the Nets, maybe you hate it. Maybe you hate Leonard Miller. I don't know. 2001 Gaming Fan says you probably covered it earlier, but with the rumor of LeBron not wanting to be in LA, would any team actually try and bring him on? I just don't think that's going to happen at the deadline here. Best suitors for Miles Turner, in my opinion, are Toronto, Boston, and then on top of that, On top of Toronto and Boston, I tweeted it earlier. Let me go look at what I tweeted. My mind is kind of fried at this point now after streaming for about 8 hours today. Told you I was going to get my hours in. Let's see if I can find it. I also tweeted, yes, Golden State and the Lakers. And then I said Clippers maybe as well. But and then I actually included Hornets too. So 6 teams. Those are the 6 best suitors. If I had to rank them, I would probably say the Celtics at 1, the Raptors at 2, the Warriors at 3, the Hornets at 4, Lakers at 5, Clippers at 6. That's probably how I would rank it. The poison pill is a stipulation in the CBA that ultimately aims to prevent teams from trading young players who they just extended off of their rookie contract. So guys like Jabari Smith Jr., Paulo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, all of the guys who were in the 2022 draft class who signed rookie extensions, they are poison pilled this year in aims to prevent those teams from trading them. What it ultimately does is it mismatches their cap hit and their cap hit incoming for a team and their cap hit going out in the same trade. So it makes it hard to trade. You need a third, maybe even fourth, fifth, 5-team trade to make something like that work, which is very difficult. But that's the easiest way to describe it, is it just messes with their cap hits in the trade machine right now in the year that they were extended. Mud Dog says, you and I, Sheldon, we are the only 2 guys that haven't jumped off the Dillingham bandwagon yet. The guy just needs consistent minutes. When you do watch him play, it's hard for defenders to stay in front of him. Dribbling the basketball is a really key skill. If you can consistently generate double teams, force team defenses into rotation, you're going to be a quality player in the NBA. Dillingham does those things. I'm not going to sell my stock on him. I think he would be valuable for the Clippers if they got him here. Some team's going to be smart and get Rob Dillingham. And worst case, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work. But I think he's going to catch on somewhere and actually start to find success. He Hacks Tier says Wolves are not trading Naz Reid. Definitely wouldn't want to, but they're not trading Jaden McDaniels in a James Harden trade. Could they do something around Julius Randle? I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Chris Finch loves Julius Randle, so good luck with that. John Morant to Orlando. Miles Turner to Orlando. The Magic don't have the cap for something like that. That's just not going to work. Jimmy says, do these leagues know they are built on the fans? A lot of them don't. Major League Baseball definitely doesn't. Spartacus says, if Portland does not get Giannis, what is their pivot? Drew to the Rockets, Knicks, or another move with Grant and Time Lord? Yeah, Grant and Time Lord to Sacramento for Sabonis. And then some small pick involved in that deal, probably. Yes, exactly. It makes trades harder, not impossible. Typically needing 3 or 4 teams in the deal. Hawks should be targeting Miles Turner. They theoretically could as well, but I'm not certain that they will. King Nacho says Harden and Paul going back to the Rockets for sure. I mean, it would be so fun. That storyline would be great. By the way, it would be great. Swap it, Ja to LAC, Harden to Cleveland, Garland to the Grizz. Yeah, I mean that 3-team composition was definitely interesting. Clipper era. Only one. Pink Salmon says, what about Hawks getting James Harden? I don't think that'll happen. It's a good question. We can look at it. I would be very surprised if that was the outcome here, but they could use guard play. So the issue is, how do we get there? Could use Porzingis' salary plus Kennard's salary, but then the Clippers are taking back too much money, so then they send... We'll do Chris Paul just for the sake of the argument. And then the Hawks give up this pick here, this lesser valuable first-round pick that they have. I mean, maybe, right? Like, theoretically works. I think, again, if I'm the Clippers, the Garland offer would be way more appealing. The possible John Morant trade would be way more appealing. A trade with Minnesota could potentially be more appealing for me. But this is one where you get a draft pick at least. So I'm glad that you asked it, Pink Salmon. Glad you brought it up. Let's check how the stream is doing here in terms of likes. Again, the like goal was 266 likes, which is what we had on the other stream earlier today. We're at 143 right now. Guys, I think we can do way, way better, especially with how many people we have watching live right now. Everyone, go hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And then also be sure to leave a like as well. Let me play this. There you go. That's from my videos. I found a way to get it in the stream today, so I wanted to at least play it one time. Yes, Harden can veto any trade, which is why he's probably not going to Toronto. From what I know about James Harden and his nightlife, city life scene, I don't think he would hate Atlanta. So, what was your jaw trade? It was essentially just very, very similar to the Garland deal, but it was essentially just like a 1-for-1 jaw to the Clippers, and then some second rounders like this Memphis one back, this Brooklyn one back, and then this future one. So 3 seconds and Harden for jaw, something like this. I mean, it's basically hey Clippers, you want to get 10 years younger kind of question. So average YouTuber says been sub since last deadline. Appreciate you big time. Glad to see you back here this trade deadline. Very, very excited. More reports and rumors. Yeah, we've got so many. I am going to record a video here now. I was planning on going to bed by midnight Eastern time. It is now 1 a.m, and I've probably got at least an hour and a half of work ahead of me yet. I was planning on going to bed, but now I will be recording a James Harden video that will come out in the morning. So stay tuned for that. I also have a mock draft coming out tomorrow, so you are going to get inundated with a ton of utility sports content, which I hope you guys do enjoy. In the short term, before you guys head out here, I want to point out something that you guys should do, which, first of all, by the way, is subscribe to the channel for more NBA content. But also, what I want you guys to do is go to the recent videos here over on YouTube. Check out my trade deadline predictions. I'm going to refresh here the channel real quick. Go check out the trade deadline predictions here. Go check out these trade assets. This is the best trade asset every single team has. Go check out all of my Giannis trades. Look at my potential NBA trades, which I had a lot of discussion in there as well. Check out my trade guide. Check out all the different stuff I've got, right? There's a lot of good content over there for you to watch. So if you're looking for something to watch after the stream today, please go check some of these videos out. This is a really great way to prepare yourself for the trade deadline. What could a Giannis trade look like? What does my favorite team have to offer? What does this team have to offer? And then also trade deadline predictions. What does Sheldon actually expect to have happen? Put a lot of work into those videos, but I really do appreciate you guys. Welcome everyone to the stream. Welcome everyone to the channel, especially if it's your first time here. I really do appreciate you guys. But, my OGs, my day ones, people who've been supporting the channel for a while, you guys know how appreciative I am of you all as well. Don't forget, I will be live tomorrow as well, tomorrow morning. James Harden video is going to be out in the morning. Mock draft's going to be out in the morning. We got a W chat. We got a W work ethic here from me because I'm going to go to work here as soon as the stream ends to get more content out. Yep, I remember your profile picture here, my man. Appreciate you. And Swavey here says Thursday could be an exciting NBA trade deadline. I think there's so much awesome stuff coming. Let's get some W's flying in here for the chat real quick. I want to see those W's fly in. W chat. You guys are absolutely awesome. So let's get those W's flying in. Clippers definitely need to get younger. God bless. Again, thank you to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for dying on the cross for me. I do want to share my faith with y'all. Again, I'm not going to be the type to try and make anyone feel bad or pressure them in a way, but I do feel like I want to use my platform to spread the word of God a little bit. W's from everybody. Appreciate you guys for throwing those W's in. Hopefully you all have a nice night. I'm going to get to work here on a James Harden trade video, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.